Bim, guess what? It's time for the news roundup of the week. We do it live every Sunday night, 9 o'clock in the evening. But it's night, so it would be evening, wouldn't it? And you join in the chat, and you can give me your opinion. You can agree, disagree, whatever you want. It's also available as a podcast as well. So certainly feel free to join in if you go on the podcast and see what's going on. My phone's just told me that I'm live on air right now. I wish I knew I was, because then I'd be able to do stuff like tell you that I'm live on air right now. But my phone's told me I am, so I am live on air right now. So what we do is we look at the news. There's lots of news this week. Not much of it good, so we try and where we can to put well, a light-hearted look on it, and we have some amusing stuff towards the end of the broadcast. But we have got some very serious subjects to cover, and I will give my opinion, and I will say things as I find them, such as Israel are currently doing ethnic cleansing in Gaza. I do not support Hamas. I think Hamas should be destroyed, but not at the expense of innocent Palestinians. That kind of thing. Electric cars are an absolute abomination. I've actually been in an electric car, driving around in one this week, and yeah, not something I wish to repeat. Thank you very much. Well, acceleration was very good, but other than that, yeah, very bad for the planet. Just wait for people to join the stream. Alan's on. Hello, Alan. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're good, and hope you appreciate trespass. Remember, you're only allowed to go in the shop when the shop is open. Otherwise, you are trespassing. Think about it, it's true. Spandau Ballet once said, I know this much is true. So we got Laney on board as well. We've got Stephen LFC1. Welcome to the broadcast. We will be delving into the news soon. We're going to start off with the most... I don't know what that rustling noise was. It was the cat sitting on a carry bag on the floor. I have lots of trespass stops. You used to work there, didn't you? You're supposed to give them back when you leave. Anyway, yeah, we're going to start with the more important news items of the week. I try and choose two different items for the week's news, and then we look at the rest of the week's news, and then we look at stuff going on and being reported around the world, and then we have a look at some stuff that makes you go, or or oh. So that's at the end, and then we look at breaking news, which is at the end of that. So this is quite a long show. So everyone's saying hiya to everyone. So let's get on with the main news of the week, and in no particular order, but just because it happened on Monday, what the hell is that? Why have you put me in? Where? Why? What? Yeah, that was completely the wrong thing. Anyway, we're away. Yeah, just saying people in. So we start off with the tragedy that's unfolding in Gaza. At least 67 innocent people are killed by the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, in Rafah. They rescued 2 hostages, and I asked the question, I think this is a valid question, why are so many countries still supporting Israel and their actions? What Hamas did was terrible. What Hamas did was unforgivable. What Hamas did needs punishing, but not at the expense of innocent people's lives. Okay, you do get the odd, sadly, civilian dying when there's a conflict, but this is just taken on a whole new level. And like I've said many times before, the reason why there's so many people in Rafah is because the Israelis have been dropping leaflets telling everyone in Gaza to go to Rafah because it's safe, and now they're attacking Rafah and killing people. And I use the analogy, what's the difference between dropping leaflets telling people where to go and then bombing that area than it is putting people on trains. That brings us to Tuesday, which was the 13th of February, I can't wait till February ends, so I don't have to say February anymore. And talks on a truce are ongoing, but Hamas say that they will withdraw from the talks because, well, they don't agree with basically handing over some land, which is fair enough. Although I don't agree with Hamas, it's like, conflict in my own head. They're also talking about prison swaps as well, but again, very unlikely, unfortunately. Then we go to Thursday, and on Thursday, another hospital. Special forces attack an operating hospital. IDF say terrorists were likely hiding in there. Yeah, maybe, possibly, a bit like America and the UK said, there's definitely maybe weapons of mass destruction in the Middle East. We'll go and look them up, shall we? Well, yeah, they were likely hiding in the hospital, and it was a precise and limited attack. Yet, again, many innocent people died. That brings us to Saturday, and unbelievably, hang on a minute, I'm on the wrong one here. No, that is it for what's going on in Gaza, the main headlines for this week. But yeah, it needs to get sorted, but who's going to sort it? Well, Keir Starmer apparently, but more of that later. God help us all. Going back to Tuesday, and this was the unbelievable thing. The gentleman on the left is the Moscow ambassador in London, and he says his country remains resolute. Mariupol is totally rebuilt and beautiful after the amount of bombing that went on in Mariupol. It seems unlikely, and we haven't got any images of it. There might be one or two places that they tidied up a bit for the cameras, but I'm pretty sure that you can't rebuild a whole city whilst engaging in a war in another part of the same country. And also, they are not interested in invading Poland or starting World War III. Well, that's put my mind at rest then. I don't know about you. I mean, if the guy on the left says that Putin on the right is not a person who's going to invade Poland or start World War III, then I'll be able to sleep better tonight. Although this was on Tuesday he said that, and I'll be honest with you, I've slept like a baby anyway. The day after, though, Ukraine claims to have hit a Russian landing battleship in the in the Black Sea. It's good that they can do that. The problem is they're not doing it enough, I think it's got to be said. I mean, don't forget, Russia are the aggressors here. Russia invaded Ukraine, again killing thousands of innocent people, and Ukraine has been fighting back. And you've got to remember that Russia was like one of the most powerful countries in the world, and he, as in Putin, kind of rattled his sabre quite a lot. And now he's tried to invade Ukraine, which is a very poor country in comparison, with a pretty small army in comparison. And even though all the rest of the world has done is give them a few weapons and a few tanks and a few bits and pieces, basically civilian army have fought off the might of Russia for getting on for 2 years. It must be embarrassing for Putin, but now he's at the stage where he can't get out of it. Of course, that's assuming he's not dead, because we've been saying for a while that he's probably dead anyway. Putin, that is, because they just wheel his body doubles out, don't they? Mind you, Biden's dead as well, but they just wheel his body out and he just kind of goes, You've got animatronics, Henson from the Muppets has animatronicated him. Brings us to Thursday. And on Thursday, the news broke. Ukraine were running low on ammo, was the big story on Thursday. On Friday, Alexander Navaliv, who was 47 years old, dies in a Russian prison. Biden accuses Putin of murder but the most prominent critic and opposition of Vladimir Putin, who's in prison on what you could call trumped up charges, couldn't have been killed by Putin because, as far as we're aware, he didn't fall out of a 6-story hotel window. Someone only assumes it's natural causes, because that's the way that most people who stand up against Putin end up. Either way, he was one of these people who you thought, if he'd managed to get control, would have turned Russia around, a bit like Gorbachev did. But how long for? That's the problem. Brings you to Saturday. Saturday, Ukraine says the fall of Adulanka after a long battle. Putin says it's a great victory for the army and congratulates the troops. They have lost 47 through death or injury fighting for this basic town, which is now levelled. But Putin says it's a great victory. It's taken nearly 2 years, but it's a great victory. Well done, Putin. Ukraine are putting their defences further back. Putin is an evil monster, says Alan Barton. He is indeed, but there's 3 of them at least. Possibly more, who knows. And then round Russia, there have been tributes going up and memorials for Navalny, the gentleman, the opposition leader who mysteriously died in prison in the what is it, the Saltlands, where is it called? The area that's really cold and horrible there. This was a video image, I forgot to mention, of him actually in court via video link from Siberia, and he was laughing and joking and looking very happy and confident. 24 hours later it was announced he was dead. So these memorials were going up all around Russia, and at least 400 people have been arrested for standing near these memorials, looking at these memorials or putting flowers on these memorials. And remember, the people of Russia, this is the Russia that Putin's fighting for against the West and Ukraine. This is what Putin is wanting Russia to be like for all of you. And a lot of you are standing by. And mind you, you probably wouldn't want not to, because otherwise there'd be that many people falling out of 6-story hotel windows. You'd be able to walk down them rather than fall to your death. If everyone in Russia who doesn't necessarily agree with what's going on with Putin had the ability to actually question and argue against it, but of course they haven't, because, as Alan Barton says, evil is Putin shaped. He didn't say that, I kind of twisted it a little bit. Brings us to the week's news. It's a week news roundup. This is the roundup of the week of the news. On Monday, the 12th of February, Labour withdrew support for their candidate in Rochdale. This is the gentleman who said that he thought, in a private meeting, that he thought that Israel had an idea or knew what was going on October the 7th, let it happen, and using that as an excuse to actually go in and do what they're doing to the people of Gaza and, for that matter, Lebanon as well. I've said that already. I'm pretty sure that the Rochdale Labour candidate does not watch my news stream, but a lot of people say that. You talk to people, obviously I don't talk to people on the street, but you talk to people and a lot of people agree that maybe they didn't think it was going to be as big attack as it was, and not as many people or more people died than what they thought were going to die. But it's nothing to do with the Jewish people, it's to do with the Jewish or the Israeli government. They're the ones at fault, just like Blair and Bush were when they did the illegal war in Iraq and Afghanistan and all them places. All the sanctions placed on Russia don't seem to have worked. No, they won't work, because well, Russia's allies with China, and we've sold all our manufacturing to China. So if we upset Russia too much with too many sanctions, then China will say, well, you can't do that to our friends, so we're not going to give you any more iPhones or anything else that they make over there. So yeah, we have to be careful, don't we, because we've painted ourselves into a corner, metaphorically speaking. Metaphorically. Oh, that's a big word, isn't it? The metaphorically. So yeah, they've withdrawn support, but I think I think now this guy's still classed as Labour on the ballot sheet because they've already been printed. I think he's going to win. And I think he might get a bigger majority because I think a lot of people, bearing in mind that Rochdale is a heavy Muslim town, I think he could win overwhelmingly because of what he said, which is what a lot of people are saying. I have people coming to the shop and the majority of people, I don't think I've had anyone when I mentioned that actually say, oh no, I disagree with you completely there. Most people have thought, oh, I haven't thought of that, or that, yeah, I've been saying that as well. So yeah, it's I suppose it's difficult if you're Keir Starmer because you try and please everyone all the time, which we'll come back to later. Trust me, we will come back to Keir Starmer later. Also on Monday, the 12th of February, EU leaders got the jitters after Trump's commented that if a country was not paying what he considered to be enough of its GDP into the UN, NATO, if they were invaded, he would not help them in any way, and he'd even tell the country invading to do what you want because these people have not paid the fees. You've got to pay your bills, and yeah, it's a bit scary that he's going to get back in. Let's be honest, he's going to get back in. There's no way out of it. He's going to get back in again. Tuesday the 13th. Surprising and saddened news as well that the BBC radio disc jockey Steve Wright passed away suddenly at the age of 69. He'd gone down to, I think, a show once a week, and he said a couple of days before on his Lovin' show, I'll see you all next week, and I'm signing off for now, and his usual stuff. But yeah, suddenly passed away, and it was announced on Tuesday. I used to listen to Steve Wright when he was on Radio 1. It was like from the 80s, 90s kind of thing. Although I did prefer Mark and Lard, I'll be honest with you. I thought Mark and Lard were hysterical. But Steve Wright was okay. Bit screamy shouty for me, but still a sad loss. Oh boy, Trump another gobshite, says that Alan's on it today. A second Labour candidate has been suspended for an investigation after comments he made at the same meeting as the previous candidate. But this guy is not actually on the ballot sheet yet because this is going to be when the general election comes on, not when, not for the by-election that's in a few days' time. World is full of them at present. Gobshites, yes, Laney. You're watching one right now. The UK arm of, now this is a weird term, the UK arm of Body Shop, which was founded by Anita Roddick in Brighton in the 70s, is entered administration with over 2,000 jobs at risk. Now I mentioned this in passing last week, but it does seem to have notched up a level or two. Body Shop is was the place to go if you were cool and trendy in the 80s, 90s and noughties to buy all your body care products, all of which were sustainably sourced, packaged, recyclable packaging, reusable packaging, top-ups, all that kind of thing. Since the passing of Anita, which was a good few years ago now, the company's kind of lost its way a little bit, apparently. I wouldn't know, I've never been in and bought anything because I was never trendy. And it's a lot of people who used to go there religiously have stopped going. Since then, of course, we've had a lot of discount stores opening up, including Savers and B&M's and all the other ones as well, who sell similar items for considerably less money. And people possibly less concerned now about saving the environment because it's rammed down our throats all the time. But anyway, hopefully something will happen and save the company. But apparently it was only taken over in January by a new company. Unclear whether it's the January just gone or the January last year, but either way, it's not long after a company takes over a company for it to go into administration, and one wonders, is there any stripping going on there where they go in and asset strip the company and then let it go bust and then walk away with all the money that they've stripped out of the company? I'm not saying the Body Shop was doing well, but it seems a bit of a shocker that it's gone this way this quick. There are a few other shops that I have in my mind that may be going soon. Fairly big national companies. But Body Shop was not on my radar for that. I mean, I was aware of it and its issues, but not to the stage where it would get where it is now. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it will sort itself out. Now we remember the farmers protesting in Europe. They amazingly put a load of cow poo in the doorway by firing it out the back of one of their muck spreaders, which is an industrial tank of a muck spreader, into the doorway of a police station. They piled ties up around government buildings, they blocked motorways and everything. That spread all the way around Europe, and they actually got their own way to a degree. But the protests then came to the UK, and around Dover there was a lot of farmers driving slowly, complaining about imports, price of diesel and all the other bits and pieces as well, which is fair enough. But now India, farmers have been protesting in India over cheap prices paid for their crops, etc. So they think they're being ripped off as well. And I said to you last week that it does feel like at the moment we keep going about all these environmental concerns we've got and how we need to do this, that and the other to save the environment. But the population of the planet is exponentially growing. Yet we seem to be cutting down on the amount of area that farmers can use to farm. For example, they have to do a small percentage, but nevertheless a percentage, and hand it back to nature, which is all well and good. What I would do is I would make them put the hedges back up again, because the hedges were basically little motorways for rodents and insects and birds and everything to actually get around farms without going across fields, rather than a whole field being taken out of action. But anyway, yeah, everyone, the protesters, the farmers are protesting, and rightly so. Oh, it's a thumbs up for the world's full of them at present, as in gobshites. Hiya. Wednesday, February the 14th. Tragedy in America, one dead in Kansas at the victory parade of the Super Bowl winners. Gunshots were heard and many injured, including children, at what was supposed to be a celebration. Now, we don't normally cover, we did do for a while, but it got sadly boring, covering gun crime in America because it is so common. But this was totally a different level. It's a celebration. Kansas football, rugby, whatever it is you want to call it. Everyone calls it something different. American football team, but Americans don't call it that. American soccer team, that would drive the Americans mad. Rugby for pansy teams, whatever. They won the Super Bowl. They were doing their victory parade, as you do, on top of an open top bus, and someone decided to use that opportunity to go around shooting people. I mean, America, sort your guns out. Terrible delay on this messaging system. It is bad. I do apologise, but at least I know when you're behind. Can you not fast forward the video and catch up? Or is it because you might have lagged behind, particularly if there's an advert or something? I try and keep the adverts as minimal as I can, but obviously you need the adverts to pay the bills. Labour grow a pair, and they say they will block anyone not fit to be an MP. That's their new policy. Surely to fucking God, that should be a policy from day one, from the first day Labour was set up. First thing we must do is the people who we put forward for MPs or councillors or whatever should be properly vetted. And obviously, as things have gone on, that vetting should have got more secure and more robust. But they've now decided that they will block anyone who is not fit to be an MP. So, see you, Kia. Bye, mate, because you're not fit to be an MP. The drones were used in India to drop tear gas on their farmers. We think it's bad over here. they were marching towards New Delhi. The police basically blocked all the roads around New Delhi, and that's a big city. We are talking millions and millions of people live in that city. That is not a small city. Mind you, to be fair, there's not that many roads go into New Delhi, but the police blocked them all, and then they used tear gas to disperse the farmers. You know, the people who make the food for them. You know, the people who keep the cities and the people alive. They tear bombed them, tear gassed them. God's sake, what is wrong with people? Brings me back to the argument is, you know, all this, we need to do things more fairly. We need to rip off the farmers as much as we can so they go bust, which means we get less food, which means people starve. Is that a way of reducing the population? I don't know. Yet we seem to be seeing all these appeals on the, mainly during daytime TV, for fresh water in the middle of a desert somewhere for a tribe that lived there. I mean, we are so arrogant as a species that we think we can live anywhere we want and change the environment for our benefit. You don't get seagulls living at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. You don't get dolphins living on Mount Etna. I mean, you live where there's enough sustenance to live on, and that's what animals do. And if animals don't have enough sustenance, they die. Or they move somewhere where there is sustenance, be it water, be it grass, or other animals, or the prey, or krill, or whatever. But the human species is so arrogant that we choose to live here because this is where we live, and we don't care there's no water or anything. We don't care that our little son, who's 3, has to walk barefoot for 16 miles with a cup of a dirty plastic cup to get some mud out of a river, and then walk all the way back again and then get some horrible disease from it. We want you to drill a well here so we can get fresh. No, move somewhere where there's fresh water is available, or move nearer the fucking river. I'll wait for a terribly delayed message. I'm not really. And this was a question asked, which I think a lot of people have been saying for a long while, particularly with vape shops and barbers, men's barbers, because they are everywhere now. Every town you go to, there are hundreds of them. Mark calling Welly, come in Welly. It's Mark calling Orc, come in Orc. Mark from Orc. Mark and Mindy, 1970s TV, Robin Williams' first thingamabobby. Anyway, are barbers part of illegal immigration? Are they part of slave labour? Are they part of money laundering? Personally, I probably tick all the above. I mean, the one thing that barbers have got over other shops is the fact that they don't have to buy stock. You buy a pair of scissors, okay, decent pair of scissors, a hairbrush, a chair, a mirror, and off you go. Oh, and a few blankets and sheets to put around people's necks, or just get them to strip off, and then just blow them down with an air dryer or something, get all the air off, and then you can get dressed and go out. Cheaper, more environmentally friendly, especially if you have them pedaling a bike to power the air dryer to blow the air off them. See, should be the world president. But yeah, it does seem ridiculous that we've got so many barber shops opened up. I mean, even in Pemberton, well, even in literally around the corner from where I live, there's one living room of a house that's been converted to a barber's with a young lad, or he's probably not young now, he's probably a bloke. And he's been cutting hair for a while. Never been. I cut my own hair. I don't know if you noticed or not, but it is beautiful. And about couple of hundred yards away, a brand new shiny spanky Barber's has opened. And then you go up the road, and there's another Barber's. And then you get into Pemberton Town Centre, and there are 1, 2, 3, about 4 barbers there as well. Now, how often do men get their hair cut? I don't know. How many times do you get your hair cuts? And a lot of men are bald these days anyway, so you don't even get your hair cut. I'm going bald. I'm thinning. But yeah, it does seem, how do they make the money? Okay, they haven't got the overheads. As long as they've got a radio on in there or a TV and a bit of light, you're away. But it does seem very peculiar. And vape shops, well, they're just going around killing people, aren't they? Thursday the 15th, UK goes into recession. The recession is 0.3%. Previous recessions have been -6, -5 and -3. So minus 0.3 is quite a mild recession. So they called it a technical recession. It's not really a recession, but it is a recession. So it's a recession that's not a recession. A bit like the car park near the market that's been built for the market traders. That's a car park that's not a car park. It's a recession, but it's not really a recession because the numbers are too slim. A bit like the tarmac on the car park that can't take cars on it because it's too thin. The recession is too thin to be called a recession, but it is a recession because it's over the line. So it is a car park because it's the size of a car park and it looks like a car park, but it's not a car park. So it's not a car park, and this is not a recession. Even the cat fell over in shock then. Trump is the first president in history to face criminal charges. The date for trial has been set for next month. He says it's a deliberate attempt to stop him winning. To be fair, the way things are going on, I think it's a deliberate attempt to actually help him win. It's a bit one of those things, isn't it, where when you're a kid and your parents tell you can't do something, it makes you want to do it even more. You know, like you can't read your book in bed, so you get a torch or your mobile phone or whatever and read. Well, not that kids read books in bed now. It's you can't watch TikTok in bed, and they do it anyway. Waiting times in hospitals, NHS hospitals, have gone up 19 times, or they're 19 times higher than before the COVID pandemic. Now, the COVID pandemic screwed up a lot of things, we know that. Whether we can blame that for that, I'm not sure. There's a lot of strikes going on as well in the NHS, the greedy junior doctors and all that kind of thing. Whether we can blame that or not, I'm not so sure. However, I think every little helps, as Tesco say, and I think every little thing that goes wrong also helps causing the problem to increase. So I would imagine, could we do a whole show on car parks? Car park rants are fabulous. I found my level, folks. It's car parks. When is a car park not a car park? When Wigan Council commission it. Sorry. Talking about waiting lists, we're talking about relatives being stuck in waiting rooms and corridors for days to get into hospital. No, there's a massive problems, and my main argument about hospitals has always been there are too many managers. I worked in the NHS, in the kitchens, not anything important, but even in the kitchens we had somewhere in the region of 3 managers for the catering department. The catering department with 1 kitchen in the main hospital and 1 kitchen in a subsidiary hospital, and that were it. And we had 3 catering managers. That was in the 1980s. So imagine how many they've got now. They've probably got about 20 of them, and not enough staff to actually do the work. And that goes for all departments in hospitals, wards, surgeries, even the transport problem we had with my mother a couple of weeks ago when she had an arranged appointment. Send Elsa to see Putin. Oh, I'd love to go on that massive table. Be at one end of that massive table. Although I'd have to check underneath and make sure it didn't have one of them harpoon things attached to it. You know, like they have on James Bond. Where he goes, Mr. Bond, I've been expecting you. And then he presses the button and it fires the thing and he always drops out of the way quick enough, or he stands up quick and he ends up having his circumcision operation. What about the hospital car park? Oh my god. Oh god. No, I'm not talking about hospital car park. Hospital parking is ridiculously expensive. But back to more tragic news. Bristol at the moment seems to be a hotspot for crime, particularly knife crime. This week a 16-year-old was stabbed to death and 2 15-year-old boys have been arrested for murder. I'm pretty sure that the stabbings we had of the 2 teenagers last week or the week before was in Bristol, And there's a tragedy that's unfolding at the moment, which may or may not be stabbing, but is in Bristol as well, where a woman has been arrested for the murder of 3 young children. Early doors at the minute, we're not sure if they're related or how or why or what, or it might be a mix-up. But it does seem to be that Bristol is a bit of a hotspot at the moment for knife crime, which is awful. Vlad, you know, Vlad, old Vladdy boy, Putini, who gets his nipples out every opportunity. You wouldn't get me doing that every week. He would rather work with Biden than Trump because Biden is more experienced and predictable. Well, I never thought I'd say this, but I agree with Putin on one thing there. He is predictable. He's going to say something that doesn't make sense. You can guarantee it. I've got a delay, excuse me a second. You can guarantee that's what he's going to say. But no, I think Putin wants Trump. So Putin thinks, well, if I say I support Biden, then everyone will vote for Trump. We get Trump in. He gets me out of this mess in Ukraine. We sort ourselves out. And then when he buggers off, I'll have redeployed my army. I'll retrain them. I'll have bought them more weapons and we can try again. But it gives him a break. So I think Putin wants Trump in because it'll advantageous him. I thought someone had written something then, but it's still about the hospital car parks. On Friday, Trump civil fraud case is ordered to pay £278 million, it's a lot more in dollars, in penalties for over valuing his properties so he could get cheaper loans and more favourable rates. He will appeal because, let's be honest, Trump is appealing, isn't he? If you like oranges. He's banned from running any business in New York City for 3 years. So he can't run a business. And neither can his family, or certain members of his family either. They've all been indicted for this as well. In New York. Where's this company based now? Let me think. We might be getting Trump moving to Scotland. Because he's got lots of property in Scotland, hasn't he? And let's be honest, Scotland could do with the money, especially if they're going to go rogue and go independent. They could have Trump as the president of Scotland. Oh my God, this is perfect. We get rid of Scotland. Scotland thinks it's got its independence. It's got loads of money because Trump's there, although he hasn't got as much money as he says he has, which might be a problem. But let's be honest, the Scottish are very good with money. So they can make a little go a very long way. World problem solved. I mean, literally thinking out loud here. A bit like Trump when he said drink bleach to get rid of COVID. Well, it would work. You wouldn't worry about the COVID anymore. Putin and Trump are in cahoots, says Alan. Oh, where's that? Is that near Uzbekistan? This is a big surprise. Labour wins 2 by-elections. Keir sounded underwhelmed. I think he knows that people are turning on him because he doesn't do anything. He's just a... I've used this before, I'll use it again. When Liz Truss was Prime Minister for about 3.5 hours and completely took the world economy with Kwasi Kwarteng, there was the lettuce and the dressed up as her, well, it had a wig on, and basically the question was asked, what would last longer, her being Prime Minister or this lettuce? To be fair, the lettuce did look a little bit, I wouldn't have eaten it, put it that way, by the end, but it did survive longer than Liz Truss. What we need to do now is get a lettuce, pour some water on it, put a grey wig on it, and we got Keir Starmer, because he is a wet lettuce. He tries to please people. If he thinks he's upset somebody, he completely changes his mind. It's like, you can't run a business like that. You cannot please all the people all the time. As soon as you change a policy, so you're like, right, we're going to do electric cars. Everything's going to be electric through the whole country. We're going to ban diesel. We're going to ban petrol. If you've got a petrol car or a diesel car, that's it. We're going to ban you. You won't be able to drive your cars. You won't be able to get the fuel because you need to go electric to save the planet, which is BS. But if say said that, and then someone went, oh well, but we like our petrol car. We can't afford an electric car. He'd be like, Oh, well, when I said that, what I meant was that's in an ideal world what we like to do. But to be fair, because we've got to get all this copper and stuff for the electric to make the electric cables in the ground strong enough to charge all these cars up, and then we've got to get rid of all these batteries. What we're going to do is we're going to scrap electric cars completely. We're not going to bother with it. We're going to stick with the petrol cars and diesel cars because that's the way forward and it's safer for the planet. And then you get all the Green Party going, no, you can't do that. So you'd be like, yeah, you're right. So what we're going to do is we're going to ban all petrol and diesel cars and we're going to do electric only, but we're going to do it a different way. Instead of having all this copper under the ground everywhere, we're going to have little wind turbines over your house so you can actually charge your car up using wind power, because that's going to work and that's going to be brilliant. And the batteries we're going to recycle. I figured out a way of doing that. Then someone says, but it's not windy all the time, so how are we going to charge our cars up when it's not windy? Damn, you're right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ban wind turbines on houses, and we're not going to have electric cars because that's a stupid idea if you can't charge them up. So what we'll do is this is what a government under Labour under Keir Starmer is going to be like. It's absolutely ridiculous. I was in an EV this week. I mentioned it on my vlog. I was in an EV this week that you don't plug in. It's a non-plug-in EV, and it uses petrol to charge the battery. It's got a generator in it. It's a nice green van. You've got a generator which uses petrol that charges up the battery that then powers the wheels for the car to move. The engine, the generator, sorry, is not connected in any way to any moving parts of the mobilisation of the vehicle. It's only the electrics that do that. One thing I would say is, my God, it can accelerate. It's quite impressive the pull that one of these cars has from traffic lights and round corners and everything else. The good news is you'll be pleased to hear I have changed my underwear because I don't want to sit on this seat in soiled underwear. But yeah, it was an experience. But yeah, I mean that's what Keir Starmer's like. He flip flops. Now that was an extreme example, but I think you get where I'm coming from with him. He just changes from one thing to the other and back again, and it's just so frustrating. The Prime Minister said it was a good result. It's like, right, okay then, Rishi, what are you on about? He said, yeah, losing 2 by-elections at this part of a government's term is not a bad result. And to be fair, they were losing by-elections before the last general election where Boris won, because a lot of people do vote against the incumbents in order to fire them a warning shot and say, look, if you want us to vote for you at the general election, you need to pull your finger out and sort things out. They say mini disc players were their way forward years ago. Yeah. Hey, Stinky P's in as well. Hi, Sean, by the way. What make and model was it, Mr. T? It was a Nissan vehicle. I don't know. I was a chairman of a stock car club for 10 years. I was involved with it for 20 years. I don't know what a car looks like and what it's called. Jesus. I don't even know what car I drive. The Reform Party came third in both elections, which basically means the Greens, the Lib Dems and all the other parties, Independents, Monster Ravy, Looney Party and all them, all got bumped down. So are Reform one to watch? Well, no, because I'm not... no, not a Leaf. It was a big SUV. Yeah, I don't think you need to put a lot into this election result because it's a by-election. Let's be honest, these people who've won it, they'll just get sworn in and then it'll be a general election. They'll be out again. X-Trail. Yeah, I think it was an X-Trail, Sean. That was a very good guess. Yeah, well done. Hiya, Gordy. Hope you're good as well. Here's a question that I got asked today. You probably don't know. It's probably just coincidence. Why do Everton come out to the Z Cars theme tune? I have been told it before, but I've forgotten. On Saturday, the Scottish Labour Party, at their conference, called for an immediate ceasefire because, well, they can do that. They're a Scottish Labour Party, which is not the policy of the main Labour Party. Keir Starmer was in Munich and he was interviewed about this, and he said, well, yeah, we do want to pause in hostilities and all that kind of stuff. Oh, okay. No, I didn't do the banger racing. I was the chairman and publicity officer, commentator, marshal, litter picker, and all the other bits and pieces as well. Sunday the 18th. That's today. Is it still today? It is still today, just. Oh, pardon me. Got wind there. The WHO, World Health Organization, and the Hamas Ministry of Health say the hospital that was attacked by the IDF is non-functioning now, and people have died. They reckon, the IDF, that they've arrested more than 100 people from there, and the Hamas and WHO are saying that a lot of them were actual doctors and nurses, so which makes it even more difficult for them to actually do any work in the hospital. There's also no electric, and Israel say they are helping by giving them oxygen and carrying water in. Great, guys, well done. I think it was something to do with Bill Kenwright, the reason behind Z cars. All right. Got a very itchy leg. Yeah, there was a banger racing track in Kirby, but that shut down years ago. There was one in Bellevue in Manchester, and that shut down a few years ago now. But the one I was at is still running. Well, not at the moment because it's too late, but they normally run on Sunday. A 42-year-old woman arrested in Bristol. 3 children have been found dead in a house. And Keir Starmer is back in the UK. In fact, he goes to the Scottish Labour Party conference. And then he says he's calling for an end in the fighting in Gaza. So basically, overnight, he's gone from, well, we need a ceasefire, to wanting to cease all hostilities. I mean, there are a few caveats. All the hostages have to be released. Well, if I held hostages and I was up against Israel, I probably wouldn't release hostages until I knew that Israel wasn't going to come in and do even worse than what they're doing now when I've got their people in my area. Can you give my dog Rollo a shout out? It's the sausage dog. Rollo! Rollo! Come on, Rollo! 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 Come on, run over, Rollo! Rollo! No, I'm not doing that. That's childish and immature. But yeah, Keir Starmer's grown a pair and actually made a decision. Of course, he'll now be told by people that he's now supporting Hamas and supporting a terrorist organisation, which they are, because he's saying that they should stop the fighting in Gaza, which means tomorrow he'll probably say that Israel needs to remain resolute in its ability to destroy Hamas. And it's unfortunate civilians are getting killed, but they need to do what they need to do, because that's how it works with Keir Starmer. You just change your mind every 5 minutes. Can you imagine going for a meal with Keir Starmer and you sat at the table and everyone gets a recipe thing? I've never been in a restaurant, I assume you get a recipe, and you have to choose what you want. God, you'd be there for fucking hours. You'd literally starve to death while he made his mind up about something. Should I start with the garlic mushrooms, or should I have the prawn cocktail, or should I go for the shrimps? Oh, I don't know, because if I go for the mushrooms, then people will say I'm vegetarian, and that'll upset the meat marketing boards. But if I go for go for the prawn cocktail, then people will say I'm living in the past, and I don't want people to think I'm living in the 1970s when prawn cocktails were cool. So I don't know, but I like prawns, and you know, oh, for God's sake. He loves watching every Sunday when you're live. Leonard Williams from West Derby, the only genuine Scouser amongst the cast, played Sergeant Percy Twentyman, was formally invited to watch Everton play Blackpool. All right. I have a canine fancy. I do, which is ironic because dogs don't normally like me. I must admit, I had to nearly cut the skin off my arm one day just to check I wasn't a Terminator. But anyway, I'm all right. I'm not a Terminator. Or I will terminate you. Only in memory of their win, but of their famous supporter Leonard Williams. Not only in memory of their win, but the famous supporter Leonard Williams. So good, you have to say it twice. Right. What's going on here? Main news, maps, week's news, world news. So that brings us to the world news reported this week around the world. Hence the title, World News. I'm on Bombay Road. I read that as I'm in Bombay then. I was going to say, wow, got a good support there from India. I do have people watching me from around the world, to be fair. I had a guy come into the shop this week and said he watches, and he lives in the United Arab Emirates. He moved there many years ago and come in to shake my hands. For what I do. Mainly for Wigan Watch, to be fair, not necessarily this nonsense. So, London's toll congestion fee slashed traffics, but it's put pressure on shops and restaurants. Who'd have thought less traffic means less customers? Some shops and eateries in central London saw their receipts drop 5% when the British capital rolled out its congestion pricing programme. Now, this is reported in American news because the Big Apple's controversial plan $15 daily toll is modelled on that. While the percentage may not seem like much, Manhattan restaurant and store owners say it will be devastating given their already dangerously thin margins thanks to COVID. Flew over just to come to Games and More. No, he didn't. No, he didn't come to Games and More. He was coming for a family reason. I didn't get into what it was. Capsules containing feces being developed. Why? All you need to do is just stick some capsules up, and then when they come out again, they've got feces in them. But no, there's more. It's more important than that, apparently. Capsules containing someone else's feces are being developed in Western Australia with the hope they can be used as a treatment for people suffering from infections in their guts. The procedure uses a healthy human donor's stool to help restore beneficial gut bacteria. So basically, if you've got an upset tummy or you've got some problem with your digestive system and it's not working properly, it's because you haven't got enough bacteria or enzymes or whatever in there. So what you do is you take a tablet of someone else's poo. What could possibly go wrong? I've got one word to say to you, not something I've ever used myself, but Yakult. Doesn't that do exactly the same thing without involving other people's shite? Only in Australia. Cat gives owner bubonic plague. They love to share, don't they? I mean, that cat's playing the long term, isn't it? Because everyone reckons their cat is trying to kill them. Because every time they look at you as if to go, your time here is limited. I'm going to get you. All cats do that. Dogs are like, oh my God, you're amazing. Rollo. Oh, yeah. The cats are like, yeah, I know what you're thinking. But I'm ahead of you. I'm going to get you. Because that's what cats are like. The world's yeah, absolutely. A case of the bubonic plague has been confirmed in a rural county in Oregon, the first US state as seen since 2015. Health officials say the patient's pet cat had been symptomatic as the plague historically spreads to humans and animals through a bite from an infected animal. A poo transplant. Yeah, no, we're not doing a poo transplant, Liney. Mardi Gras Fair Day cancelled in Victoria Park. Mardi Gras Fair Day has been cancelled after asbestos was found in recycled mulch in Victoria Park. The highly hazardous material has recently been detected at an alarming number of sites across Sydney, prompting the closure of parks, building sites and schools. Now, I'm pretty sure that every school over the age of 40 is full of asbestos. In fact, any government building over the age of 40, in fact, any building over the age of 40 is full of asbestos. But yeah, apparently in Australia, they've stripped it out of buildings, mushed it up with all the other rubble, and then put it on in parks to stop the weeds growing. Well, it'll certainly do that. It'll also stop the kids growing as well, because they'll be dead of cancer before they're 20. How many cats have you got? One at the moment. Thank you. That's enough. That's enough. Bluey Garden Gnomes on sale for $900 after retailing for only $19. Bluey themed garden gnomes, which retailed at Bunnings for just $19 a pop, are now attracting hefty price tags on eBay. The Hammerborn gnomes, which take their appearance from the hit TV cartoon Bluey, are no longer available at Bunnings according to the Superstore's website. So people are panicking and paying up to $900 online. Can you imagine back in the day when Teletubbies was a thing, and everyone was going mad for Teletubby toys? The toys were about that big, and everyone sold out because all the kids wanted them. My daughter wanted them as well. I didn't manage to get one actually, and eBay wasn't a thing. But can you imagine if eBay was a thing? Oh my god, it'd be like selling a 50p for like 300 quid. Ah yeah, okay. Sorry. Mum's disappearance labelled suspicious. The disappearance of missing Victorian mother, Samantha Murthy, has been labelled as suspicious and unusual by the state's police chief commissioner. It's been 10 days since the mother went missing after going for a run in the Canadian state forest near Ballarat. Now, this gives me a flashback to a year ago when that poor lady disappeared going for a walk along the river with her dog. Hopefully there'll be a better outcome, but yeah. Joint statements from the Prime Minister of Australia, Canada and New Zealand. I mean, how the hell Canada got thrown into that as well, I have no idea. But we are gravely concerned by indication that Israel is planning a ground offensive into Rafah. A military operation into Rafah would be catastrophic. We urge the Israeli government not to go down this path. There is simply nowhere else for civilians to go. There is somewhere else for civilians to go, and this is what Israel are trying to do, the Israeli government, not the Israeli people, and that is to drive them out of Gaza completely, i.e. send them into Egypt. That's where they are, aren't they? Yeah, the Egypt border. And then they can claim Gaza for themselves. But yeah, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has joined with counterparts from Canada and New Zealand calling for an urgent ceasefire. The three leaders are imploring Israel not to launch a ground offensive on the besieged Gazan city of Rafah, the city that they've told people to go to. They also agreed that an Israeli military operation in Rafah, where about 1.5 million Palestinians are sheltering, would be catastrophic. By their own admission, the Israelis say there's only a few thousand people who are actual members of Hamas. So if they're going to attack somewhere with 1.5 million people, how are they going to know who the few thousand people who are in Hamas are? So I agree with them. Just because of the... No. Greece legalises same-sex marriage. Greece has become the first Orthodox Christian country to legalise same-sex civil marriage. Despite the country's strong and influential Orthodox Church, a cross-party majority voted in favour of the landmark bill drafted by Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis. No, that's not his name. Centre-right government. For a start, it sounds like the guy out of God of War, but Mitsotakis. I mean, it does sound like they're making a big mistake, status, doesn't it? But anyway, I'm blind, of course. If people want to get married, they can get married. I don't care. It's not something I'm ever planning on doing, ever. Did get engaged twice, though, but that was a waste of time, wasn't it? Oh. Right, this is Australian reporting. Imprisoned Navalny is dead. Imprisoned Russian opposition leader Alexei has died, aged 47. The Federal Prison Service said in a statement that Navalny felt unwell after a walk on Friday and lost consciousness. Navalny has been a long-time critic of President Vladimir Putin. Yes. And he's mysteriously died, but he didn't fall out of a hotel window, so I generally don't think Putin's got anything to do with it. Rust Armourer, alleged cocaine use, boozing, and it's all to be included in the upcoming manslaughter trial. If you remember, Rust is a movie that was being filmed where one of the camera ladies was killed by a gunshot, and she was in charge of the guns on the thing, and it turns out now she was a bit of a sniffer and a bit of a drinker as well. Marjorie Taylor Greene says UK Foreign Minister demanding US give more aid to Ukraine can kiss my ass. This is the kind of politicians we've got around the world. Of course, I'm not talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm talking about Lord Cameron being the Foreign Minister of the UK. Firebrand Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene did not hold back when asked about the UK Foreign Minister who wants the US to send more aid to Ukraine, saying he can kiss my ass. The Georgia Republican made clear the special relationship did not apply to David Cameron when asked by Sky News about his call to vote through funding for Ukraine. Putin put in bin. Can't argue with that. A dog missing for 4 years is found 500 miles away in a different state. I mean, to be fair, America's big, but I think 500 miles you would be in a different state. A beloved dog that went missing in Colorado in 2020 was recently found in the streets of New Mexico, some 500 miles away. Patches the pup and her owner, Benjamin Baxter, were reconnected over the weekend in a heartfelt reunion 4 years after she went missing from a friend's home. The pooch was staying at Baxter's friend's home in Callahan, Colorado, after he'd relocated to Nebraska, and thought, I've seen the Disney film The Incredible Journey, I can do this. 4 years later, totally lost, but thankfully gets found by someone and they send it back to its owner. Putin makes surprise pick by backing Biden over Trump in a rematch. He's more experienced than predictable. I've already covered this, but this is America covering it. Russian President Putin made a surprising pick in the upcoming US presidential election, saying he prefers predictable President Joe Biden over Donald Trump, who's complimented Putin over the years. Biden is a more experienced, predictable person, a politician of the old school, Putin 71 told interviewers on Roslyn 1 TV. So yeah. But I think it's, if I say I want people to vote for that person, they'll vote for someone else just to spite me, and I get who I want. Delta passengers showered with maggots after they fell from plane's overhead compartments. They might have even preferred snakes. Snakes on a plane, Samuel L. Jackson, what a fantastic film I've never seen. A Delta flight from Amsterdam to Detroit was filled with some unwanted stowaways. Maggots that fell onto disgusted passengers from an overhead bin while mid-air on Tuesday. The gross bugs had infested fish that a passenger stored on their carry-on luggage, according to reports. Now, right, fish that's got maggots in it is going to smell. I'm not an expert on. I've been on lots of planes, but I've only kind of hopped over the Irish Sea. I've never been on any major flights, so I've never been particularly high. But I would imagine if there's rotting fish full of maggots, you would smell them long before the maggots would actually fall out of the fish onto the people. But no, come here, there's more. The picture stays the same, but a Delta passenger was freaking out when maggots fell on her during the flight. I think I'd freak out as well. Yeah, how does that get through the airport security? Good question. A passenger on the maggot-infested Delta flight recounted the moment he set eyes on a woman who was hit by the disgusting stowaways. A Delta flight was turned around after maggots fell onto passengers. She was freaking out, Philip Schott, who was on board the infested flight from Amsterdam to Detroit, told Fox 2 Detroit. She was trying to kind of fight off the critters. Well, you can't fight off maggots. You just squash them if you start doing that, and then you get covered in maggot guts. And you get it on your hand luggage. Fish stinks even before it starts rotting. Can't argue with that. Messing Tennessee deputy found dead in river after patrol car pulled out with suspect's body inside. The bodies of a missing Tennessee deputy and a woman he had apprehended were discovered in a submerged patrol car almost one day after he apparently warned dispatchers of water while driving the woman into county jail. The remains of Robert R.J. Leonard, a rookie deputy of the Meigs County Sheriff Office, and the woman who he'd arrested were found in the vehicle after it had been located in the river. Tragic story there. There's just lots of vomiting emojis. Most lethal sniper in Marine Corps history, Chuck Mawhinney, dead at 75 meters. No, dead at 75. The US Marine Corps' deadliest sniper, Charles Chuck Mawhinney, who went nearly 2 decades avoiding any recognition for his kill record until he was outed in a book, has died. Mawhinney died at his home in Baker City, Oregon. He was 75. He was born in Lakeview, Oregon. Mawhinney began his legendary career in 1967 after he graduated from high school and enlisted, which always brings me to one of my favourite jokes that I say to people. I mean, one of them is, and you've heard this many times, I used to have the body of an athlete, but the freezer broke, so I had to throw it out. But my other one is, I've not seen you for ages. I've really missed you. I'm going to have to go back on that sniper training program. And you see people go, like that. So yeah, I've really missed you. I missed you. I'm going to have to go back on that sniper training program. Use it. See what reaction you get. It won't be favourable. A bullet narrow misses lung of a 10-year-old boy injured in the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl parade. And you can see there, I thought that was his arm when I first saw that picture, but that's his arm's up in the air and it's his side of his body down here somewhere. And it missed his lung, so lucky lad. A 10-year-old boy was one of nearly 24 shots at the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl parade, has shown off the gruesome gunshot wound that narrowly missed his lung, which he initially thought was pain from being trampled, only realising it was a bullet hole once he was back home. I mean, talk about a tough 10-year-old. They make them tough in America. Well, they have to be tough in America. Probably about the 5th time he's been shot, to be fair. Terrified Vegas judge Mary Kay Hutherluth feared for her life during a viral footage leap attack. He was absolutely taking me out. It wasn't for a meal though, was it? The Las Vegas judge who was violently attacked when convicted felon leaped at her, Superman style, during a sentencing hearing last month, broke her silence, saying he was absolutely taking me out. Yeah, wasn't for a meal. Yeah, I thought it was his arm at first. Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, that really isn't going to go anywhere near his lung if it's his arm. But no, it's his body. He's only 10, so he's only tiny. Oh, that's one we've just done. I went back to looking at the picture of the bullet hole, as you do. Kansas City Strong United, a tribute All 12 children injured in Kansas City Chiefs parade shooting have been discharged from hospital, which is great news. The Post has learned Children's Mercy Hospital in Overland Park, just south of Kansas City, received the wounded kids following the mass shooting on Wednesday. 9 of them had sustained gunshot wounds. The others had received injuries from the panic that ensued afterwards. Well, they've all gone home. Matt Francis. Hi all, sorry I'm late, we'll watch from start, replay tomorrow. No worries, Matt, good to have you on board. Greetings to Cornwall. Late book finally returned after 93 years to Ohio Library. Ohio? Why do I always have a problem saying Ohio, there you go. Ohio Library got a nearly century-old surprise when a patron returned a book that was checked out 93 years ago. The Licking County Library in Newark, Ohio, posted a video of the book, a poetry anthology titled Heartthrobs, the Old Scrapbook, on its Instagram page, showing its stamped due date slip and bookmarks still left inside. A library employee explained that the patron found the book in a great aunt's house, and its stamped due date was still inside. Where's the best place you would recommend to go for food in Wigan? Clunan's in the market. Although I haven't been there for a while myself because I can't keep the shop shut for that long. Texas chemistry teacher on leave after cross-dressing video of him in school goes viral. A cross-dressing chemistry teacher in Texas has been put on administrative leave after a video of him decked out in an all-pink dress and a cowboy hat ensemble on Valentine's Day went viral. A video of Rahman Tijaya, who teaches at Hebron High School in Carrollton, in the get-up, was shared by the conservative social media account Libs of TikTok. It sparked outrage from some, slamming him as a groomer. Now, I don't necessarily have a problem with a teacher being a gay cross-dresser. It's a secondary school, so possibly less of a problem. However, what you do in your own private life is not something you should be doing in a place of work. The only exception to that would be Leslie in Benidorm at the Solera Hotel, which I'm currently watching again on that TV channel I keep forgetting the name of that shows old stuff like Shameless and stuff like that. But yeah, calling him a groomer is a little bit overstating it a little bit, I think. Trump fans launch a GoMe fund to raise $355 million after the civil fraud trial. As the Trump world scrambles to find a way to pay a massive civil fraud judgment, his fans have turned to an online fundraising in a bid to pitch in. The recent legal battles he faces are not just an attack on him, but attack on the very ideals of fairness and due process that every American deserves. Read a GoFundMe effort launched on Friday and seeking to raise a 9-figure sum. The scary thing is, I think they might do it. I mean, you know, in a short period of time, they'd had 14,000 donations at $55,500. You can still watch it now on Freeview, Alan. It's on that weird. It's not called Talk TV. It's Summit TV channel that's appeared recently. It's series 5, so it's not the best. Although the episode that was on tonight was the one with what's he called? Mr. Pink. He was in It Ain't Half Hot Mum. I just get him here. Do you know Sherry Houston from Benidorm lives in Orrell? No, I didn't know that Sherry Houston from Benidorm lives in Orrell. There you go. Every day is a school day. A teacher at Walk New York City School claims he was harassed with poop and fired for being a man. Maybe he had a gut problem and they were just trying to help his digestive system. Maybe he farted really badly or something. This stunk. So that's why they fired poop at him. I don't know. Maybe they were trying to help him. You know, it's better than tablets, isn't it? An educator claims in a lawsuit he was harassed for being a man at the posh Trinity School and was even subject to a poop-laden campaign to force him out. Learning specialist Geraldo Perez alleges he walked into his office one day and found a pile of dung. The $64,000 annual tuition school concluded the feces was accidentally brought in on someone's shoe. You find a pile of dung and the schools say that it was accidentally brought in on someone's... A pile of dung accidentally... No. If you accidentally walk poo through your house or your place of work, it's usually very flat because it's coming on your shoe. It is not a pile of dung. I think he's got a case there, and I wish him all the best. Oh. I'm sorry, that tickled me. We needed something to make me laugh, and there you go. House COVID-19 panel requests testimony from 4 former Cuomo admin officials. The House Select Subcommittee on the the COVID pandemic has asked 4 former members of disgraced New York ex-governor Andrew Cuomo administration to testify on must-admit orders issued to nursing homes on the onset of COVID-19. Now, everyone's picking on Boris and Hancock and the Tories and everything for what went on. Completely oblivious that there's inquiries going on in America, there's inquiries going on in Europe, in different countries, there's inquiries going on in Australia, because exactly the same thing happened all over the world. And as I've said from day one, we didn't know how bad it was going to be. We didn't know if any of us would still be alive now, not let alone, just carrying on life as normal. And there wasn't enough PPE going around, so money went missing because criminals took advantage of it. It's the criminals who should be being held account. But after 6 to 9 months, the excuses start wearing a little bit thin, because by then we kind of knew what we were heading towards and where we were going and how it was going to pan out. And then 18 months into it, you're like, hang on a minute, we're still doing the same crap that we didn't need to do first time around, but we didn't know we didn't need to do it. So yeah, it's just a reminder that these inquiries are going on all over the world because everyone took with it. And just remember, we could have had Corbyn as Prime Minister during COVID, and Corbyn as Prime Minister during the invasion of Ukraine. I mean, Jesus Christ. Oh, and Corbyn as Prime Minister on the invasion of Gaza. Oh my God, how many bullets did we dodge there? Fato, President Trump, ex-President Trump, complains that AI was used to make him look fat. No, that's called getting old and eating too much McDonald's and KFC. The camera added more than 10 pounds. Former President Donald Trump raged on social media, claiming that media outlets used artificial intelligence to create a fake photo of him on the golf course with a massive gut. The fake news used artificial intelligence to create the picture on the top left, Trump 77, wrote on Truth Social. These are despicable people, but everyone knows that. I'll be honest with you, if I was playing golf and someone took a picture of me playing golf, I may well look like that, and I'm not 77. I'm not far off, but I'm not there yet. It's just called getting old, and if you've had a big meal before you go out, it looks worse. And obviously the camera does make you look fatter as well. Record 5,363 New York Police Department cops injured on the job in 2023. I read that as injured on the job. I'm like, well, they should be more careful with their sex practices, but no, it's a more terrible story than that. With over 1,200 hurt in struggles with suspects in the last 3 months. A total of 1,286 police department officers were injured in battles with suspects over the last quarter of 2023, bringing the final annual tally to a record 5,363 injured cops. The 40th precinct in Mott the Bronx, was the most dangerous battleground, where 135 cops were injured during struggles with lawbreakers. That goes the same size as his head. It is actually, you're right. The irony is, if you hadn't said anything, I'd have never seen that picture. Neither would you. California library shuts down over drug use and public sex between the bookshelves. I read that as public sex between the bookshelves, as in the bookshelves were having public sex. But no, it's police officers from New York getting injured by having sex on the job in between the bookshelves, and they fall over and they hurt themselves. This library has checked out. A public library in California has shut its doors following months of rampant drug use, robberies, and even public sex between the bookshelves, as Golden State cities are held hostage by criminals. The Contra Costa County Library's Anatouche branch that made the decision to close until further notice, as the repeated dangerous incidents have threatened the safety of its staff and users. Banassi Botham's belly. Yeah, mine's getting there as well, don't worry. Trump announces official sneaker selling for $399 a pair in surprise appearance, following his $355 million New York civil fraud trial outcome. So he's trying to make money by gold plating some trainers and selling them for $400. So by my quick maths, he needs to sell 100,000 of them. No, 1 million of them. He needs to sell 1 million of them in order to pay off his debt. But it wouldn't pay off his debt because he'd have to make the things in the first place. But he's probably got a lot of kids doing that, so maybe not. And I think, let's have a look. That is the news from around the world. News from around the world. News from around the world. Now it's time for news that makes you go, yes, it's your favourite part. It's a bit where we take the mickey out of things. Although there are some serious stories sometimes chucked in here, just for good measure. But not always, I'll be honest with you. More often than not, it's just silly stuff and the odd Banksy. Talking of which, now I've got a picture in my shop which I think is hidden at the minute. It was on a shelf that was visible, and it showed a load of kids, pre-teens or mid-teens, early teens, jumping out of windows of apartments, flats, sometimes 3-4 stories high, and landing on piles of mattresses. Something the kids did back in the 70s and 80s apparently. Where was health and safety then? And this is basically, I won't say it's a nod to that, but it reminded me of it because you've got a high jumper there and he's using a discarded real mattress as a landing mat as he tries to jump over the fence, escaping something or other. Probably got something to do with Israel, because there seems to be a lot of his artwork, or their artwork, because we don't know if it's the male, that has something to do with that. I always wonder how old Banksy is. Cool stuff though. Yeah, I'm a massive Banksy fan, I'll be honest with you. And it got my Banksy fandom got inflamed massively when someone traded in a book at the shop a good few years ago that just had Banksy artwork on it, and it was amazing, some of the stuff he'd done. And then I went to, it's touring the world at the moment, and I went to the Banksy exhibition that was in Media City in Salford a year or two ago, I filmed a video on it as well. It's on the if you go onto the GM Buses playlist, you'll see one of the thumbnails is an image of a Banksy. If you watch that, you'll see me and my take on the Banksy exhibition. It was 25 quid to get in, but I tell you what, I nearly went again. It was that good. And I'm not really an art person. My mum's an artist. She's had exhibitions here, there and everywhere. But I've never been artistic in any way. I've been autistic apparently, but I've never been artistic. And but Banksy, I don't know. I just seem to get where he's coming from on a regular basis. No, wasn't there a documentary on him of many years ago when the film crew followed him around, and he wasn't as big as he is now, and he was having a dispute with another graffiti artist, tag artist, and they were going to, I think there was on a canal, there was a bridge, and on the other side of the canal you had to get on a boat and go across, and they kept painting over each other's paintings or over each other's artworks. And all that kind of thing, and I think that's the closest we've got to who Banksy is. But yeah, if you want to have a look at the exhibition, and I did it all artistic myself, I kind of zoomed in and I did all this kind of stuff at the Banksy exhibition. So it's in the GM Buses playlist. So look at the playlist and you'll find it, or just click on the link. Thanks, Toff. Here we go. Royal family need Kate and William more than ever as health crisis worsens. Well, of course they're going to need Kate and William more than ever. He's the next in line to the throne. We're obviously going to need him more than ever in the future. It did tickle me when the coronation was on and King Charles was being coronated, and it said, you know, we've not seen anything like this for 70 years, and I'm like, yeah, well, it won't be 70 years till we see something like this again, will it? It might be 70 weeks or 70 months, but it won't be 70 years. So yeah, obviously Kate and William are going to be more important. Who's looking at me? Here we go. Oh, Jesus. Stinky P. Oh ye, is Phil dying? Charles. What do I say? I don't think he's dying. He's certainly unwell. Oh, that's weird. I've just noticed that alien's got a nipple. I've never seen an alien with a nipple before, but there you go. Mind you, aliens don't exist. Officials admit 400 alien encounters can't be explained by conventional events. A whopping 400 potential alien encounters have happened where there is not a conventional explanation for them. A new report states after officials in the UK were urged to release classified UFO docs, and it's an alien with a nipple. What's that about? See, when it's on my phone, it's tiny. It's your own joke. I mean, the screen is tiny. That's what I meant. That's what I'm sticking to, and I'm not going to back out of it. But yeah, so I didn't notice that. But yeah, there you go. Aliens have nipples. That's you think they don't have genitals, although they might do. Look at the one in the background. Jesus, it's got some pubis. Aliens are real. Yeah, okay. We've touched on this already. High Street fave, no longer fave, but Body Shop is set to close as administration threatens 22,000 jobs. I don't think it's 22,000 jobs, I think it's 2,000 jobs. The Body Shop, which was set up in 1976 by the late Dame Anita Roddick, has more than 200 shops in the UK, including one in Wigan, after administrators were called in. Talking of Charles, King Charles spent just half an hour with Harry to keep stress levels down. King Charles, who was recently diagnosed with cancer following treatment for an enlarged prostate, had a very brief visit with his younger son, Prince Harry, following the news. We say so. My mother-in-law sent me this shirt all the way from England. She must really like me. I think it's from a golf club, a yacht club even. I'll let you figure that one out. If you're a gamer, after sales of the PS5 failed to meet expectations, Sony said the console is entering the latter stages of its life cycle. The reason the PS5 failed to meet its expectations, although it outsold the Xbox to be fair, is because it wasn't available. You couldn't buy one. And then this person here said, it's been like 4 years and the damn thing wasn't available for most of its life cycle. And no, they're right. If you try to get hold of a PlayStation 5 when they first got launched, it wasn't happening. If you try to get hold of a PlayStation 5 2 years after launch, it wasn't happening. If you try to get hold of a PlayStation 5 up to about 18 months ago, it wasn't happening. So no wonder sales were poor, because you couldn't buy the bloody things. They weren't available. Roses are red, violets are blue. Every screen tested in McDonald's has traces of poo. This is a Valentine's message. The Metro has tested the customer touchscreens in 8 McDonald's restaurants in the UK. They found traces of fecal bacteria found in poo on every screen, as well as a host of other bacteria. McDonald's say the screens are cleaned regularly. What is hygienic about using a touch screen in a restaurant, to use the term loosely, where you eat the food with your hands? Why has no one ever seen this before? That's why I refuse to go into McDonald's now. I will only go through the drive-thru. I will not go into a McDonald's and order stuff with a touch screen. Unless it's wiped down after every use, then they are a dangerous thing. And yeah, of course they're going to have fecal matter on it, because most people don't know how to wipe their arses properly, and a lot of people don't wash their hands after they've had a shit. So you go into McDonald's, especially teenagers and youngsters, they won't care. They'll scratch their arse. Well, how many times do you see teenagers walking with their hands down the front of the pants, scratching themselves, and then they go to McDonald's and go, I'll order a burger. And the most popular burgers are always in the same place, so everyone else is touching that same point where he's had his hands on his knackers. Nom 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 nom. Salty flavoured. Is it me, or are these burgers a bit saltier than what they normally are? But yeah, touchscreens. I don't like touchscreens anywhere. I think touchscreens are just such a bad idea. On your phone, yeah, because you use it on your own, no one else uses it. But in public places, and particularly, like I say, if it's a restaurant where you used a knife and fork, then maybe not so bad. But you don't. You grab the burger with your hands, you grab your fries with your hands, you grab everything, your nuggets. Well, that's what the lads are doing before they go in. They grab the nuggets with their hands and then they touch the... Anyway, moving on. Bring back the counter staff who took your order. Piers Morgan has posted on X, increasingly untenable for Buckingham Palace not to say what cancer King Charles III has got. Speculation is running right all over the world. If, as I'm sure he does, Charles wants to help others, far better to be specific about his condition. And then Tom replied, try hacking his phone, you might find out for yourself. Which is fucking genius. And Jane Goodley has put, well done, Tom. Really badly. Autocorrect, I can only assume. But either way, yeah, Piers Morgan was obviously... Can't even go counter anymore. They don't even put staff on the front. Oh, well, there you go. Like I said, I've not been inside a Mackey's for a very, very long time. Now, you know what I like to do every week? I like to have Burning EV Car of the Week. So this is Burning Electric Vehicle of the Week. And it's a Mercedes. Yeah, every week we get one of these. And 2 fire engines, 25 fire extinguishers, and it's still not out. Buy an EV, they say. No. I mean, that's the other problem with EVs, amongst everything else. Once these things burn, do you not remember when Richard Hammond crashed that very expensive EV in, was it Switzerland or somewhere, and it burnt for like 4 days? Because the lithium batteries, you can't pour water on them because they react to the water. And they kind of ignite one after the other, but they can burn for ages, and it burnt for like 3 solid days. All the smoke, which is full of contaminants and everything, a lot worse than a normal car fire. Oh yeah. Just one more YouTube video, then I'll go to sleep. Lewis Hamilton scares a tiger. Oh, it'd be more fun if it was Lewis Hamilton being eaten by a tiger, but you know, we'll give it a go. Now, Luke Marsden is a regular, irregular contributor to the channel. He pops up every now and then in the shops on my vlogs or on Wigan Watch or whatever. And he writes in the paper like I do, but a different paper, but it's the same local paper, but a different day. And EVs are the way forward. And he wrote in this week's paper that there's not many restaurants left in Wigan, which takes us back to what was being said earlier on, actually, where's there anywhere good to eat in Wigan? And yeah, there's not many places left in Wigan. I mean, one of the places I thought was a good place to eat, I think, got a 0 hygiene rating. And you're like, whoa, what happened there? Maybe they had rotting fish with maggots in it, I don't know. But either way, we have a spoof Wigan newspaper channel on social media. And because Luke was going on about, he was in Big Brother 15 years ago, and he's a minor celebrity. He was going on about, not having restaurants to go to because he goes to the same places all the time, wants something a bit different. And someone's put on news. Luke Marsden says Wigan Town Centre is so lacking in cafes and restaurants that he's running out of places for people not to recognise him in. Because people don't recognise. I've been out with him, and I've been not out with him, not holding hands or anything. I mean, out drinking with him a couple of times, and yeah, no one recognises him. In fact, I had people talking to me about Wigan Watch full times, which amused me no end. And he's been on Big Brother and on lots of TV, and he even met Kay Burley. Oh, I'm glad I didn't, because I would have told us some home truths. To be fair, that's a less than flattering photograph of Luke as well. Not that most photographs are flattering, to be fair. Yeah, I write in the Wigan Observer every week. They don't put it online because it's too controversial, as you can imagine. Have I got news for you? Transport for London is rebranding its overground lines to make it easier for tourists and outsiders to navigate the network. Here are those renamed lines in full. Now, I don't know this story because I don't live in London, and I'm not really seeing it anywhere else, but this amused me. I can assume it might be true in the fact that you've got the Piccadilly line on the Underground, you've got the Victoria line, you've got the Elizabeth line, you've got the Central line, you've got the very Northern line, you've got all these lines, so that when you go on the London Underground, you basically know which train you have to get on to get where you want to go. And maybe they're doing that with the buses, which kind of would make sense, particularly, like I say, for tourists. Rather than number 7, it's, the Trafalgar Square line or whatever, and it just does a circle of round Trafalgar Square and round and back and comes back to Trafalgar Square. I don't know. But anyway, these are the these are what they've come up with on Have I Got News For You, and they are pretty genius, celebrating London's unique history. So we've got the no eye contact line, because no one in London, when you're on public transport, will look at you. The no smiling line, because everyone in London is as miserable as the £9 for a pint line, because pubs are extremely expensive. The M&M World line, don't get that one. The no respect for personal space line, yeah, that's valid in the UK as well. Some people just do not know how to keep at least a metre away. It's just like in your face all the time. It's annoying. And on public transport, yeah, it happens the same. And regret going to Camden line, which is obviously some reference that people of London will get, but I don't get. But I like the fact they've chosen Camden as the place that people would regret going to. But no, yeah, funny. Funny as. El Salvador mega prison, visitors told don't look psychopaths in the eyes. Horrific conditions in a flagship mega prison have caused uproar from human rights groups, but a downturn in gang-related violence and have seen the country's president soar in popularity. I agree with these places. We were talking about last week, or I was talking about last week, there were some people on death row complaining, in America, complaining that the new gas thing that they did for that guy a couple of weeks ago was inhumane. And they need to do something that's a little bit more human rights and, respects their humanity. And I'm like, no, if you're being executed, you've carried out a murder, and there is a very, very strong chance you did carry out that murder. And if you've got the death penalty, one imagines that murder was horrific, be it a child, police officer, or just incredibly gruesome, or multiple people. So, if you commit a murder and you get the death sentence, my idea is you get executed by the method used that you murdered the people that you've got the death sentence for. So if that's poisoning, stabbing, shooting, starvation, beating, whatever, you're tied to a table, and the pain and the suffering that you inflicted on your victims is inflicted on you very slowly, very long period of time, and you pay the price for what you did. None of this humane stuff. Where was the humanity for the people you murdered? Doesn't exist. You should only get human rights if you act like a human, says Craig Ed 92. You are right, Craig Ed 92. And welcome, by the way. That's a name I'm not familiar with. So yeah, welcome. And these guys are the same. These guys are murderers. They are drug dealers. They are probably paedophiles and all the other disgusting people that you don't want around. So they've been put in this prison where they basically have no human rights whatsoever. They don't have clothes. They have to walk around in basically shorts or nappies even. They're not allowed to do anything. And crime rates have gone down because they're tough on crime. What do we do in Britain? We go, oh, don't do it again. Oh, don't worry about it. Well, you can go for parole soon if you want. I'll tell you what you can do. If you do half your sentence, we'll let you out. Meanwhile, in Russia, you go and fight in Ukraine for 3 weeks and we'll let you go. We don't care if you raped 15 children, strangulated 16 women and dissected 15 men. You can go out and you're free because you did that for us. No, you treat criminals hard and you treat criminals tough. If they're murderers and they get the death sentence, then they get killed by the method they killed whoever they murdered. And people like this, prisons like this, should be more around and about the world, not just in... I mean, why does it take someone like El Salvador to come up with this? Surely to God, you know, we know about this. Look at Borstal. That used to stop a lot of criminality from teenagers. Now it's like a fucking holiday camp. They've got snooker tables, they've got video games, they've got all this stuff. They've even got access to the internet. Okay, it's limited internet, but still got the access. No, you need to punish them and let them know that being a criminal, even if it's just shoplifting or stealing bikes or mugging someone or whatever, is punishable. And yeah, they just don't do it. But congratulations, El Salvador. We need someone like that in Britain, and the rest of the world as well. I mean, I'm not saying that, you know, teenagers and the youth think they're tough, but they've got nothing on seagulls. UK's town so rough that even seagulls are vaping. A seagull is a picture of a seagull with a disposable vape in its mouth, the right way around. The amusing snap showed the gull with a green disposable vape in its mouth in a car park in Dorchester, Dorset, where it appeared to be on the verge of starting a terrible new habit. Oh, a bit of light relief. And then we go back to Russians and being murdered. Alex Navalny died in dark end-of-the-world torture pit of half-naked humiliation. Beating, suffocation, forced and prolonged discomfort, humiliating procedures, use of tear gas, handcuffs and rubber truncheons are all fun methods staff reportedly used to torture inmates in the prison in Siberia where Alexander was at. Again, we've got no proof of that, but it doesn't surprise me in the least. Ironically, they're doing the right thing to the wrong people. Putin would do that to someone who disagrees with him, kill him even, but rapists, murderers, child molesters and all that he frees if they go and fight in Ukraine and don't get shot within the first 3 weeks or 3 months or whatever. Putin ditches sex-mad gymnast lover for a 39-year-old blonde Barbie mistress. Vladimir Putin appears to have ditched his infamous sex-mad Russian Olympic gymnast mistress for a social media-savvy Russian socialite dubbed Barbie by her critics. Oh, it's a very, very risky thing you're doing there, Barbie. Come on, Barbie, let's go to the top of this hotel. Oh well. Next, plane crash, poison and fall. Navalny death adds to Putin's bumped-off rivals. Vladimir Putin's political rivals, former agents, oligarchs, donators may be dicing with death as the Kremlin has a long history of suspicious deaths which they deny having any involvement in. Of course they do. Why would they admit to that? Alexander, cause of death according to Russia. Cause of death according to Russia after the body goes missing. Russian opposition leader Alexei died following a prison walk earlier this week, and now Russian officials have revealed what they claim was the cause of death. Yeah, they don't tell you what it is though, it's clickbait. Now, remember, we live in an age of 15 billion pixel cameras and videos, and everyone's got one, everyone's got a phone, everyone's got this, that and the other, yet we still get images like this. Mystery UFO caught in wild images, looks like a flying bottle opener. No, it looks like a kiddie's toy being blown through the sky in 1983 in the hurricane that wasn't a hurricane. A bit like the car park in Wigan that isn't a car park. They're not car park. Well, that's not a space alien aircraft. It's something from the 1980s that's been dug up. Although technically it wasn't dug up because it was digital. Enraged camel bites owner's head off before villagers exact brutal revenge. What? A man was decapitated by his own camel while desperately attempting to get it under control. But his family and friends got revenge on the animal. Decapitated by a camel? How the hell? I mean, I've heard of some strange things in my life. This sounds like one of the excuses. Maybe this is how Alexander's died. Maybe he was savaged by a camel. I mean, what? No sense made. McDonald's drive-thru lets customers ski up to the hatch to get their food. Of course it's in Sweden. A McDonald's branch in Sweden allows customers to ski right up to the collection window, with the property only open a handful of months a year for those hitting the slopes to stop for some food. So McDonald's are even on the fucking ski slopes. So you're trying to get healthy and then you've got a triple quarter pounder going down your gob. Oh, they found his body. Thank God for that. It's covered in bruises after going missing from the morgue. Murdered, in quotation marks, Putin rival is believed to have died in prison with his body going missing just a day later. Now his remains have been found. It'd be interesting to see if we get a pathology report or we get, something that's actual, something that we can do. What? I've seen something which I'll mention very shortly indeed because we've got the last thing here. Act of God sends crumbling supermarket sliding down a hill, forcing the evacuation. A giant supermarket branch, Target, has been filmed crumbling and sliding down a hill, prompting a major evacuation and forcing nearby residents to flee their homes. I mean, you could say, they missed out on one here, it's a moving target. Moving target, because it's moving its target, Supermax moving target. So where I ride them? I don't ride them though. I don't tell them either. I don't tell them there, so it is. No. Right, yes. Breaking news. And I don't know if I can do this or not. Can I do this? Can I do this? We go to camera. Yeah, there we go. Right. Excuse this because this is going to be a bit weird, but just bear with me while I do this. Oops, where is it? Oh, it's wrong way around. Flip it around. There you go. Oh. Can you see what it says there? It says pollen tomorrow. It's February. That's insane. Breaking news, we're going to get pollen in February. I've lost it a long while ago, Alan. You should know that by now. You've been watching for long enough. Angela as well, if you're around. I don't know what you think you've done, but you haven't done anything as far as I'm concerned. So get your ass back into gear, okay? Right, breaking news. This is the bit where I can't see what you're writing. But this is news that's broken in the last few hours. Boots to close another store as pharmacy and beauty chain plans to shut 300 sites. Now, I've noticed the majority of them are the smaller ones, so the opticians, whatever, and then they're incorporating them into the bigger stores. But I do worry for towns like Wigan that's got a fairly sizable Boots in the Grand Arcade, but has got a pretty massive one in Robin Park Retail, out of town shopping centre, and they've already moved the opticians that was a separate unit into there, and it's doing better than it's ever done before. So yeah, that could be it's shameful why the return of Victoria isn't should we do that again? It is shameful why the return of Victorian era diseases to the UK alarms the experts, because we're getting like mumps and rubella, and we're getting smallpox and stuff like that, aren't we? So it's quite scary if you think about it. There's 13 new train stations opening in the UK in 2024. Who knew? BT is making major changes for 30 million customers. Here's how it will affect you. Struggling Brit pubs beg for help as 750 UK boozers set to shut in the next few months. Hannah Waddingham stuns BAFTA's 2024 audience by singing in memory of tribute. What? Oh, I don't know. There's a power cut in Oldham. Accrington transport firm bought out by a company which operates Megabus. And Tesco Club card customers only have days left to spend vouchers with millions of pounds. And Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes F1 replacement lined up as talks planned over the new vacancy. Who's it going to be? An abandoned airport that may reopen and start running cheap, easy flights. And there's a new car tax change from April the 1st, which is going to affect a lot of people. BT versus Virgin Media, which is a better broadband provider. I'm with Virgin and I don't rate it. Steve Wright, tragic death. Legendary DJ was more ill than he was letting on after heart surgery. A friend suggests. What's that? Manchester Evening News. Housing development overlooking Greenbelt to be built on old high school grounds. Well, that seems reasonable enough then. Oh, now Aldi goes woke. Supermarket issues gender transition guides to staff as John Lewis faces a massive boycott. People do not want this, and the people who are transitioning, people who are gay, people who are Muslims, people who are Jewish, people who are whatever class as a minority, just want to get on with their lives. They don't want all these people looking at them thinking, oh, you're one of those, whatever that is, because a minority of the minority is kicking up a fuss. And then you get these big... Look at Disney, how they are kicking up everything at the moment because they've got people working for them who are telling them what to do, and they're just making films that are not what people want to watch, so they don't watch them, so all their films are bombing. Woke is a good idea, but not to the level we're at the minute. We don't need to go on about it all the time. I actually found myself apologising for misgendering someone this week in the shop. Like, what am I doing? What am I doing? But yeah. Tory's sinking feeling as 58 MPs announced plans to abandon the Conservative ship. Well, that's political suicide, isn't it, for them? Las Vegas Grand Prix officials reveal serious doubts about the race's future. Will it happen again? We don't know. One of Greater Manchester's most sought after places to live, but disquiet is brewing. Oh. 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 Yeah, we're getting high pollen tomorrow, according to in Wigan. I'm like, what? Yeah, 75. Alder. There's no ragweed, there's no mugwort, there's no birch, there's no olive, and there's no grass. But it's a lot worse down London. What? So if you have itchy eyes and everything tomorrow, it might be something to do with that. Apparently as well, it's high all over Europe. Berlin, Germany, Paris in France, Rome in Italy, not so much in Spain, which you think would be high because that's further down. So yeah, if you've got the sniffles and whatever and an itchy eye, it could well be pollen in February. What's that about? To be fair, I've never noticed that before. That might explain why I do get like a really blocked up nose and itchy eyes when I'm like, it's not spring yet. Maybe I'm allergic to whatever it is that's coming out tomorrow. It should burn all the trees. Anyway, that is it for this week's broadcast. I was going to call it a show, but it's not really a show. It's more of a broadcast. So a big shout out to Alan Barton, Laney, Stephen LFC1, Lewis Kevin Hamilton, Sean J, Gordy Everton, Toffs TV, Stinky P, Matt Francis, anyone else? There's someone else come in as well recently. Craig Ed 92, and of course Rollo. Come on, who's a good boy and who's a good girl? I don't know. Rollo. And Angela as well, if you're on. If you think you've upset me, you haven't upset me. So I don't know quite what's going on there. We've got 9 viewers, 9 likes. That's the only analytics I can give you. Been on now for 1 hour and 58 minutes and 35 seconds. So, JT, if you're watching, now listening on the podcast as you do when you're at work, you've had 2 hours of this, so you can actually, go. There you go. So there you go. Everyone's saying good night to each other. So I'll let you do that for another a minute or so. Is there anything else I can think of? I don't know. Let's have a look, see if there's any more breaking news. Merseyside's oldest building can be what? Can be found in a small place with a big history. Oh, okay then. That's not very exciting. Horner and key Red Bull chiefs no longer allies. It's like Horner could be on the way out, but you don't want to get rid of him because it's innocent until proven guilty, isn't it? Is that the world we live in? I don't know. So there you go then. That is it. So like I say, big shout out to everyone who's joined in the chat. Big shout out for everyone who's watched. Big shout out to Rollo. And I will see you all again next time. Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Yeah, done it all. So I'll be seeing you. Until then, Cat's going to come now and ask for a stroke because I'm going to say the magic word. And she always does whenever I say this magic word. Bye! Yeah, she does. She always comes over. She hasn't come over yet, though. She hasn't come over yet. See, I'm watching this on this, so I don't know whether you've got there or not. I don't know. I'm just saying, oh, that's it now. I'm going to do the bye bit again. Don't forget to check out the playlist as well of all these. And you can see how I've predicted stuff for so long. Dum-dum-dum.